All right, hey everyone. UFC 291 takes place this week. The main event is Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje. They are fighting for the BMF. Um, Now this week we don't have that many fights. We have 10 fights, but they're going to be good. I know I see that there's this. Everyone's talking about how this is a stacked card. I don't think this is as stacked as it was before, especially now that we lost Aliskerov and Costa. We lost Rob Font and Song Yudong. Just today in the weigh-ins, we lost Stephen Thompson and Michel Pereira because Michel Pereira was over 3 pounds. But should still be a great card. What do you think?
Yeah, still should be enough fights. I mean, I'm actually excited for some of the not so flashy fights, like a couple of versus Ribeiro. I mean, I like that fight. I think Bonfim and Trevor Giles might be a good fight. We'll see.
Yeah, we're not going to go over all those. We're just going to go over the main card today. But yeah, a lot of fun fights should be on the prelims, early prelims. But we're going to go ahead and start with the first fight on the main card. We have number 12 ranked Michael Chiesa. He's coming off a 2-year hiatus. He's fighting Kevin Holland. This is a welterweight bout. What are your initial thoughts on this bout, on this fight?
Well, this should be Holland's fight, I believe. I mean, we know it's probably going to end up on the ground, right? And if Holland did take any lessons from his last fight with Hamzat, he should be able to at least survive on the ground, right? I mean, if Diego Sanchez can survive with Chiesa, right? I think it's fair to say that Kevin Holland should survive. On the ground, I think he should outstrike Chiesa easily, rather. Chiesa, I believe, is the only fighter that I know of that I can think of, on top of my head, that doesn't have a single win with a TKO. So all his wins come with either submission or decision. So I think Kevin should take that fight, my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Kevin Holland should win. I think it's going to go to decision. It is very surprising to me because the odds are actually pretty close. They're in favor. They're favored towards Kevin Holland, but I'm looking at it right now on UFC. I don't know if it's up to date or not, but it says odds are minus 145 for Kevin Holland and plus 125 for Michael Chiesa. Now I don't know if the odds makers are thinking, oh, we've seen Derek Brunson and Marvin Vettori and Kevin and Hamza Chimaev get Kevin Holland to the ground, but people forget that first of all, Derek Brunson and Marvin Vettori are very huge human beings. Number one. Number two, Kevin Holland actually stunned Derek Brunson. He hurt Marvin Vettori a couple times. So, to get to the ground, you actually have to strike first, right? Unless you're Hamza Chimaev who shoots right away. But even he gave Hamza Chimaev a lot of problems. Remember, he defended well initially. He was doing all those funky rolls, which I believe on anyone else he would have got. I think Hamza Chimaev is the only one who could have gotten a takedown in that moment, in my opinion. I don't think Michael Chiesa is gonna strike with him at all. I've never seen. You were saying that you've never seen anyone that doesn't have a TKO win. I've never seen someone so unsure, in the standard department as Michael Chiesa. You could just tell he's so uncomfortable. You could tell that's not his world at all. He doesn't want to. Those guys that can't strike, but they at least pretend, right? They'll throw a big overhand, right? Like Khabib, he's not a striker. But you could tell that he'll strike, right? He'll throw a jab, he'll throw overhand, right? He'll throw stuff. Not Michael Chiesa. He just seems so unsure of himself. And I don't think he's gonna. I think he'll get to the ground, but I don't think Michael Chiesa will have any. I don't think he's gonna sync up any chokes or any submission, because don't forget Kevin Holland himself is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. So
yeah.
To your point, Diego Sanchez, if you can survive, if you have Diego Sanchez's back for 3 rounds and you can't do anything, you're not doing anything to a longer, bigger Kevin Holland.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, maybe I could see hypothetically where Chiesa could have some edge in his wrestling and grappling, degree where he can just perhaps not have anything significant, but he just maybe win rounds by just controlling him. That could, in theory, be, but we'll see.
I doubt it. I don't know.
I doubt that's very unlikely. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
move on to the next fight.
Yeah, let's go to the next fight. We have a lightweight bout. We have Tony Ferguson versus Bobby Green. Um, Tony Ferguson coming off 5 losses. Bobby Green himself coming off uh not a loss, but that DQ, right? Of he fought Jared Gordon, and then before that he lost by knockout to Drew Dober. So both guys kind of on the decline. I don't know if that's the right word, but what are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, both fighters are veterans, long veterans. What's surprising me is that, or maybe not surprising, that Ferguson never takes blame on himself. There's always somebody else he blames. Is the coaching staff and or Habib or something. Somebody. I can't believe he's still upset about Habib. And there's always something but himself. I mean, he was saying that the fight to Diaz, he lost the fight because it's Diaz's farewell fight. And I mean, I don't know if he was implying that he just lost the fight because he wanted to give him that gift. But either way, I mean, you could see he's fading rather rapidly. And I mean, how many did he lose in a row? 4, 5?
All by finish as well. No, sorry, not all by finish. Yeah, it was Chandler and Dariush. He went to. Oh, sorry, Dariush and Oliveira. He went to decision. But
Yeah, yes, yeah, right. I think some actually scored 10-8, 2 rounds for Oliveira. 2 out of 3 were 10-8, something like that. Yeah, so yeah, no, Bobby Green should be able to take care of business, I think, this event.
yeah, and I agree with you. I think Bobby Green he should win. The old Tony Ferguson that was on a 12 fight win streak. I don't think there's any way he loses to Bobby Green. I believe maybe even the one that fought Michael Chandler, that because he looked good in that first round. He knocked down Michael Chandler. He had he was still,
maybe 2 minutes out of that round he would look good. But the rest of the 3, I think the 3 minutes, the 2.5, I should say. I think Chandler ended up out wrestling him. He still got the round fine.
yeah, but in
probably
any
had.
case, what I'm trying to say is,
He
yeah, what I'm
looked
trying to say is,
2 minutes out of the 5.
yeah, but what I'm trying to say is, I think that Tony Ferguson would have beat this Bobby Green. But the one that we saw last with Nate Diaz, I mean, he looked so old. He looked slow. You could just tell he looks like a fighter that's taken a lot of damage. He looks like he's got a lot of miles.
It looked like he didn't know
body.
what to do. Like you see him do this, like the stand picking. I don't know what.
Yeah,
I don't know what he's trying to.
Gaethje.
Turning his back, and you see his corner yelling at him, "Don't turn your back!" And
Yeah, and
he looks lost. He looks completely baffled, like he doesn't know what to do.
yeah, I don't know, and him falling for that submission with Nate Diaz. If you remember the Dariush fight, if you remember, he didn't want to strike with him. I don't know if you remember that. He didn't want to engage at all. I understand Dariush is a wrestler and everything. He applies a lot of pressure, but Tony Ferguson, it looked like he was very. It just looked. It didn't look like his old self, where he just threw caution to the wind. He was very cautious in that fight. He was very worried. Same with the Nate Diaz fight. He just looked lost in that one, and Bobby Green. It's very surprising to say again because Tony Ferguson was such a monster, but I think he loses to Bobby Green. Also, we've seen Tony Ferguson have some troubles with like that kind of boxing style. Like he lost to Michael Johnson a while ago. Michael Johnson just kind of outboxed him. Maybe Tony Ferguson throws in some wrestling. Maybe I don't know if he does. Typically, we don't see him go for like traditional doubles and singles. Usually, he goes for like M&I rolls or funky stuff like that. But I think Bobby Green will just get him to the decision. I don't think he's going to finish Tony Ferguson. I think it's going to be a decision for Bobby Green. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Tony should be able to last 3 rounds, I think, right? With Bobby Green. What round did with Gaethje? What round did Herb Dean stop the fight? Was it
It was the end of the 5th? Yeah.
end of the 5th? Yeah, I mean, 3 rounds, I think he should be able to last, but I don't see him winning this fight.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, moving on, we have a fight. We have Derrick Lewis versus De Lima, right? Is that his name? We have
Yeah,
Marcos
Marcos.
Rogerio De Lima. Yes, that's right. Derrick Lewis, number 10. Marcos is number 15. Derrick Lewis, of course, coming off. Is it now 3 losses in a row, all by knockout, right?
Yeah.
The Pavlovich one was pretty nasty. He got knocked out by Ty, and was it gone? What are we thinking here? What's who do we got here?
It's a fight between two power punchers. So both are knockout artists, both capable of punching each other out. This is a tough one to predict, right? But however, I'm giving De Lima the edge because of his recent performance. We see like fight after fight, Lewis is fading, very much like Ferguson. You could see it doesn't matter. Like we've seen him come to we've seen him lose weight. Like sometimes you'll see him slim down, right? Well, sometimes we see him a little big, sometimes we see him small, and we're like, okay, now he's in shape. Now he's doing a lot of cardio, and he still lose. And then there was a lot of pressure for him because he was fighting in his hometown in Texas. Or there's always something. And I think there's the fundamental issue is that it's just old. It's just getting old. I think it's inevitable. But anything can happen, right? This is one of those fights where I don't think I'm gonna be placing any bets on this one, though. Personally.
Yeah,
But if gone to my head, I'm picking De Lima to win. But if I don't have to place any bets, I'm not placing any bets on this one.
to be honest, I don't find this as close. I think Marcos should beat him. I don't know if he knocks him out, but Marcos, in my opinion, he has very good leg kicks. He's very fast. Yeah, I don't know about very fast, but he also has knockout power. And I think it's more of just about the fact that Derrick Lewis, I just think he might be done, you know. I
Might
think
be. I mean, and we kind of had the same inclining when we were watching him fight Blades, right? Curtis Blades, right? And then out of nowhere, right? Or
the uppercut.
Volkov was, but again, that was still what 5 years ago when he fought Volkov, and Volkov was what 25 pounds probably lighter than
Yeah.
Rogerio is huge. Marcos Rogerio is big. He's
Well,
a hard puncher. He's
they weighed in the same. They weighed in the same, like 262, 263. My only thing is, Derrick Lewis does seem to be in better shape. Like you weighed in today, he had a six pack and everything. They made a big deal about it. My only thing is that I don't see any improvement from Derrick Lewis. Like he's not adding anything new. He's not adding any grappling. He's not adding anything new in the striking department. In fact, I think he looks like he's getting worse. So that for that reason, I'm gonna go with Marcos. If Derrick Lewis wins, I wouldn't be surprised because we've seen him. There's been many fights before where he wasn't supposed to win and he gets a knockout, but he's on a 3-fight losing streak, all by knockout. He's only getting older. Um, he's not adding anything new. I think Marcos with his leg kicks, we've also seen kicks give Derrick Lewis problems if you remember.
yes.
So usually it affects him more to the body. I don't really remember him getting leg kicked by many opponents, but I think those are going to give him problems. I think Marco's just going to leg kick him and box him up, and I don't want to say decision because it's heavyweights that have a lot of knockouts, but I think Marcos will get it done. Next up, we have an amazing fight. I love this fight. This is a light heavyweight fight between Jan Blachowicz and Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira, of course, moving up to 205. And you wouldn't guess that because, today they weighed in and Alex Pereira looked bigger than Jan.
Yeah. Yeah, he was even I think yesterday, right, during the media event, he was I think the comments were that he was eating, so he was drinking, so he
Yeah.
wasn't really so much concerned about the weight cut. Yeah,
Yeah.
both are both are good strikers. Both are really good strikers. I think Blachowicz has an edge in the wrestling department. Pereira has the power to knock him out, especially at 205, right? You'd think he probably have been more powerful. I think it'll be a close fight, but and this is where probably you and I will disagree. I'm giving Blachowicz the edge, maybe because of his experience and maybe because of his ability to take it to the ground, similar to the way he fought Adesanya. And if he is able to use his wrestling and grappling to control Pereira, he should be able to get the win. I know you disagree with me here. Well,
I don't disagree with you. I mean, if Jan Blachowicz takes him down, which he on paper he should, I would not be surprised at all. I just think the fact that Jan Blachowicz also getting up there in age. I know we kind of keep harping on it. We've harped on it with Tony Ferguson and Derrick Lewis, but it's a real thing, right? Jan Blachowicz is
yeah,
at 40, 41. Let's not forget, he took a lot of damage in the Ankalaev fight. He got dominated the last 4 or 5 rounds. The fourth and fifth round, he took big punches. Obviously against
he
Glover Teixeira,
gassed, he
knocked him out.
gassed, he gassed.
He gassed.
Where I don't
I don't think that's going to be. It's going to be such a. I don't think it's going to gas, even though
not
it
a
is in
5 round event.
Utah.
Yes. Yeah.
Even though it is in Utah and it is elevation. I just think that Jan Blachowicz, we've seen him eat left hooks from Thiago Santos, knocked him out the left hook. Glover Teixeira knocked him out the left hook. He keeps his right hand low sometimes. And Alex Pereira, you do not want to get hit by his left hook. Also, I understand that Alex Pereira is still new to MMA, but I do believe that these last 2-3 months, I mean, you have to imagine that all he's been doing is just takedown defense, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if you get a guy like Jan Blachowicz, you saw what he did to Adesanya. You're only doing sprawls, single leg defense. You're only learning how to hip escape, get up. That's all I would be doing if I was Alex Pereira. I would not even be hitting the back, no pads. So I think if Alex Pereira has been doing that for the last 2-3 months, I think landing that left hook. I think Alex Pereira should also show him that knee early on. Show him the knee. Show him that if Jan Blachowicz is going to change levels, he's going to eat a knee. And we've seen Alex Pereira knock out many people with the knee in the first UFC fight. All of his fights in glory, he lands that flying double knee. Yeah, I don't think anyone gets a finish if I think this will be a 29-28 for Alex Pereira. I do see perhaps Jan Blachowicz maybe stealing around by taking Alex Pereira down and just kind of, doing what he did to Adesanya, where he kind of just keeps him down. But I really want to believe that Alex Pereira, as the younger guy, training with Glover Teixeira, I really do want to believe that all he's been doing for these last 2-3 months, and really the last whatever, since he started MMA, is just sprawling and learning the takedown defense, right? I want to believe that. Also in the weigh-in, Jan Blachowicz looked to be
Little
a
flabby.
little flabbier. I don't know if it's just me, he looked a little flabbier than he usually does.
Just a tiny bit, yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that him getting older? Is that him just different shape, different? Maybe this is a 3-round fight as opposed to 5. Maybe he's been doing more cardio as opposed to weightlifting, or I don't know. I do believe that Alex Pereira is going to outstrike him for 2 out of the 3 rounds, and then maybe in the third round we might see Alex Pereira. I don't want to say gas out, because I don't think he gasses out, right? I mean, I haven't seen him gas out in any of his glory fights. Even on the sign, it looked like he was gassed, but he came back in that fifth and knocked him out. It's a very close, but I think Alex Pereira, as the younger guy, as the guy who hits harder, he's taller, he's longer. I think he should edge it out.
Either way, it's going to be a phenomenal fight.
Either way, probably a fight you don't want to bet on, right? I mean,
Every fight I noticed, there's a lot of fights here on this card, very close fights. Like even the main event, right? Main event, Chiesa and Holland. It's not that big of a. I mean, Chiesa is not that big of an underdog here, right?
yeah,
Maybe Ferguson and Bobby Green. I think maybe Tony be probably a bigger underdog, but the other, I think Bonfim and Terrell Giles and a couple of who's he fighting? Riberia, right? So I think those are close fights, and so it's going to be this one.
Yeah, and you just mentioned the main event, so I guess we can just hop right into that one. Like we said before, earlier, this is the Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje, number 2 versus number 3. They're fighting for the BMF. This is the rematch, of course. This is the rematch from their legendary matchup in, was it 2018? That was fight of the year, I think, one, right? That was just an amazing fight where we saw Dustin Poirier knock him out in the 4th round. Another very close fight. Yeah, for sure. 100%. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be another back and forth action. I think, again, this is one of those ones that can go either way. The question, there's a couple unknown factors here, right? I mean, I'm personally giving the edge to Poirier. That's just me. I don't know how you feel about that, but I do see improvements in Gage's IQ, not necessarily technique, although he probably is better. But you could tell that he is not as reckless anymore as he's used to. We remember this fight with Fiziev where he maintained composure. Even the fight with Tony Ferguson, right, where you think he could just destroy him, right? We didn't see all Gaethje just going recklessly and trying to slug it out. He was very methodical. He stuck to his game plan. All that, is that going to be enough, right? If he stays methodical, still, is that to his advantage, or is it more to his advantage just to kind of like see if he can slug it out with Poirier and perhaps hope to launch to land a knockout punch? So I don't know which one of those strategies is better, because I think with him being a little more reserved might backfire, where Poirier is a little bit more technical, right? He's a little crisper. The one thing though is to keep in mind is, did Poirier address the leg kicks, right? He's a southpaw, but he still was the Gaethje was still landing. If you remember, he was still the inside kicks. Inside kicks were getting through, and they were affecting Poirier. They were affecting him. He did make adjustments when he fought Conor McGregor, but the Conor McGregor was a southpaw, so Conor was kicking. Yeah, that was right. His kicks were different, so Gage's kicks coming from a different angle. But if he adjusts that, I think I'm giving him the advantage. Some commentators, bringing up the fact, I think somebody, I don't remember who, mentioned that Gaethje fights he trains in Colorado, same elevation as Utah, and he probably is better equipped to deal with the elevation in Utah. And I don't know how much of a factor that would be, because we know Poirier is phenomenal cardio. Also, something to keep in mind, I mean, we've seen it many times where, Gaethje gets rocked more in the fights than Poirier, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you think back, let's say with Chandler, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where Chandler fought both of them, and Chandler was able to, he was landing on Poirier, he was landing on Chandler. When he was landing on Gaethje, whenever he would land on Gaethje, there were times where he rocked him pretty badly, right? Even the early fight with Tony, right? When they fought for the interim title, I think even Tony hurt him a couple of times. So you see the Gaethje, I don't know if it's the chin, I don't know really what it is, but just a little nuances, I think, that, in my opinion, give Poirier the edge. I don't know what you feel about that.
I also give Poirier the edge. Couple of reasons. Number one, I do think he has crisper boxing. I don't know if he hits harder than Gaethje because recently we've seen
It's really hard, really hard.
yeah, he might hit harder, but it looks like Gaethje kind of causes more damage, like he causes more cuts and more bruising. I don't know if that's just because of how he hits, like he kind of hits with the knuckles. It almost seems like I remember like against Fiziev where he was landing a lot of those uppercuts and a lot of like those hooks, but it looked like they were kind of hitting with the knuckles. So maybe that's what was causing the cuts. But in any case, yeah, I think Dustin Poirier has better boxing. Also, I think he has better defense, right? Like you were saying that we see Gaethje get hurt a lot more. And when he gets hurt, he kind of tends to, even when he doesn't get hurt, when he kind of gets like blitzed or he kind of gets
He gets stumbled like a little, right? You can
yeah,
see
either
it.
one. But also, it looks like there's a tendency that he likes to kind of shell up and face. He looks down and kind of shells up. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, he see him panic a little bit versus
It,
Poirier. Poirier is
if
always composed.
he,
He
if
never
you
panics. He just
yeah, he did it against Eddie Alvarez. He did it against Poirier Johnson. What he would do is he kind of look down, he'd shell up, and he wouldn't even move his feet. He would just kind of like absorb everything. He doesn't do it as often now, and he kind of addressed that. But we've seen, for example, when Dustin Poirier gets hurt, which as you mentioned, is a lot less often than Gage. He's very calm. He'll back up to the cage.
yeah,
He has that kind of Philly shell kind of defense guard, right? He'll
yeah.
roll with punches. Um, Also, you mentioned the leg kicks. I think the leg kicks definitely will they're gonna factor into this fight. Justin Gaethje likes to throw leg kicks, but if you noticed, he throws. I think he throws a lot less kicks than he did before. He didn't throw many kicks against Fiziev. He didn't throw many kicks against Oliveira, against who else was there? Cowboy, Barboza, right? Those guys that he fought after Dustin Poirier. I don't recall him throwing many leg kicks. He threw a lot of leg kicks against Tony Ferguson, but he's not as reckless as he was with them before. Um, he's definitely going to throw them, but I think it's been 5 years, and there's no way that Dustin Poirier hasn't addressed those leg kicks, right? He has an excellent team, he's a excellent coaching staff, excellent ATT, right? They have amazing guys. It can't be that in 5 years he hasn't. I'm not gonna say fully addressed, right? Because it's a fight. Things are gonna land, but he's definitely worked on it with his team. So I think they're gonna play a lot less of a factor. If anything, I think maybe even Dustin Poirier might hurt him with the leg kicks. Who knows? He landed against Connor. He landed leg kicks. But I have to give the edge to Dustin Poirier. I don't want to say it's not. It's almost yeah. I mean, if you would have went with Gaethje, I would have understood for sure, right? Because we have seen the addition of his jab, right? For Gaethje, we've seen the addition of the jab, the right uppercut against Fiziev. We saw the left hook. He also seems a little more calmer, a lot less reckless, like you said. But I give just a slight edge to Dustin Poirier. I think if they fought 100 times, it might be like 55 for Dustin Poirier and 45 for Gaethje, something like that.
Yeah, the odds. I don't know what the odds are, but they must be really crazy close.
Poirier is a slight favorite, yeah.
All right.
But yeah, it should be an amazing card, like we said before. Not as stacked as it was before, but definitely worth. It's a pay-per-view for sure. I think.
Yeah, I'm bummed out about the Wonder Boy fight falling through, and that's a bummer. But there's a couple of fights that I'm looking forward to. Like I said, Gabriel Bonfim, Trevin Giles, I always keep forgetting a couple of opponents' last name. Roberio.
Yeah,
Is it Roberio?
I'm not really sure how to pronounce it, but I think I might be looking forward most to Matthew
Ribeiro, I think.
Summersberger.
Claudio Ribeiro, I think.
I think I'm mostly looking forward to Matthew Summersberger, who's actually on the
Oh yeah, I forgot
prelim,
about that. Yeah,
which to me is crazy how he's on the early prelim. I mean, this guy, I think how many fights does he have? I don't know how many fights he has, but I think he has like 2 knockdowns per every fight or something like that. There's like a whole bunch of KOs. That guy is just nonstop.
Yeah,
He hurts you, you hurt him. He keeps going. That guy's a that guy doesn't care. He almost reminds you of like a like those Matt Brown and those Robbie Law. Like he almost reminds you of like those kind of era
yeah, the good old,
guys, right?
yeah, good old
Like they don't
days.
have amazing striking, they don't have amazing grappling. They're just kind of like out there brawling, which I don't know if he's gonna make it too far because we saw Alex Morono just jab him up. But in any case, he's a lot of fun to watch. This whole card is fun. It's only 10 fights. But that was our breakdown, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Check us out after the fight. We will be doing a recap of the card. We will go over who won, who lost, and what's next for these guys. So watch out for that.
All right,
All right,
peace.
thank you guys. Bye bye.